All right, this is going to be a little bit of a brain teaser today, but I want everybody to do one thing throughout this whole video. I want you to think and comment about what 2 words will describe you as a gardener. Seems like a stupid question to ask somebody, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and this is going to be kind of a 2-parter. I mean, you'll definitely be able to watch this video and take what you want from it, but then the next one will kind of feed into it. So just hang with me here. But I think the first one for me is going to be accepting. A simple word, accepting. And I'm going to show you why I'm accepting and basically talk about why I feel like you almost have to be accepting into a garden when you're gardening in general. Here you go. Here's our green beans. Looking good for the most part, except for we have this. I don't know what's going on here. And then I come out here and we have this. And I don't know what's going on there either. Now, I've never had problems growing green beans ever. Doesn't mean I'm gonna have problems growing green beans this year, but I do need to accept the fact that there is an issue there. And there's multiple ways to kind of take care of this. One, I can look at it and say, okay, it's gonna die. Fine. I can take the steps and just move on with it. You know, maybe I can replant. I can go through and just say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to plant anymore. Like, whatever. I don't even care. I mean, for instance, look at this plant right here. Here's our squash. Guess what? Powdery mildew. Forming on it already. And the kicker is we hadn't had any rain in 3 months or 3 weeks. So yeah, we've got powdery mildew forming on it. So I mean, I have to accept these things. Now I can also go another route. Now, just because I'm accepting doesn't mean I have to give up completely. I can go through and I can start looking it up. And I know why I have powdery mildew. I mean, today it's super crazy humid. But like for these green beans here, like why are they doing this? What is going on with this plant? What are the symptoms? What's happening here? So I can start looking it up and trying to figure out what's going on with my green beans and try and kind of, you know, just take care of the problem, nip it in the bud. I was looking for a different word, but clearly I couldn't find it. So same thing over here. You know, if we come over here to these plants, I was talking to the other couple videos ago about how we have accidentally got gourds and cucumbers next to it. Now, I can look at it and get really upset and say like, damn it, should have done better. I should have known. I should have done this, that, blah, 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 you know. Or I can look at it and say, hey, you know what? We wanted to grow gourds anyway this year. Now we're going to have a few extras so we can do some craft projects or something. I don't know. Decorations. You know, there's all kinds of things that we can do. So we're accepting of these things that occur within our garden. Now, I mean, I don't have a problem accepting the good stuff, but I also have come to realize that I have to learn how to accept the bad stuff as well. And that just because that's my trait, that does not have to be your trait or your story. Each one is different for their garden. So please remember that throughout this whole conversation that we're having. So, I mean, you know, I had to accept in this garden bed, and I'm gonna tell you guys, it is killing me to have it bare right now. I want nothing more than to have some plants in this garden right now, but I know for the betterment of what we're doing, that this bed needs to sit empty right now, and it just needs to do its thing until we get it going. You know, we come over here to the squashes, and for the most part, everything is good. But then, what do we have? Looks like we have a squash vine borer in this one. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on it, and we have to learn to accept it. Not only that, what else do we have? Our little friend here. So just got to take care of them all, you know, and we have to accept that there's problems. Now, I hope if you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you know that I have been more than willing to accept the issues that are going to come with growing squash this year. As much as I wanted it to be just roses the whole time, that's not the case. So we are dealing with that. but it is part of it. And that's the thing about gardening, is a lot of the issues and situations that arise within it is just part of gardening. I mean, here's the hard part about gardening. One, it's not like learning how to do a backflip. You know, I can come out here today and I can say, I'm going to do a backflip and I'm going to try. And then I'm going to fall and I'm going to crack my head open. And then I'm going to get up and I'm going to try again. And I'm going to crack my head open again. I'm going to go to the hospital, get it looked at, come back. And I can keep trying and keep trying. With gardening, as you know, it's a little bit different. You got to do one season at a time. It takes months to figure it out. You know, I've got these two plants right here. These are both my second planting of my tomatoes. It took me, this is my second year doing it, trying to figure it out. It took me 2 years to do something as simple as plant a plant to try and get a second harvest off of it. That's absolutely insane. Why would I do something like that? I mean, it just takes time in the game to figure it out. You know, I've been gardening now as an adult for roughly 15 years, off and on. So definitely 10 years like on. So I've been doing a lot of gardening, and I've done other stuff, like I grow bonsai too, which I don't really talk about on this channel at all. But I grow bonsai, and I've been doing that for 25 years roughly, and consistently. So I've had my hands in the game of growing plants for a long time, and these things take a lot of time to kind of master and get used to. So all that being said, I'm accepting. I'm accepting of the good, the bad, the difficult, and the easy. I'm really accepting of the easy, let me tell you. But there's always going to be something that goes your way that's going to kind of throw a hiccup in it, and I just learned to accept it. The next word that describes my gardening style or the type of gardener I am would be traditional. Okay, this is really important to me, more so than accepting, because it kind of goes hand in hand. And this is kind of what I'm going to expand upon in the future. And I hope you've kind of seen this, both of these words, throughout most of my videos. But traditional is something that's really important to me. And I mean, if I think about it, it's really simple to break down. Let's take something as simple as sweet potatoes. Okay, these sweet potatoes have been grown by human beings for thousands of years. There's all kinds of ways to grow sweet potatoes. There's, you know, sweet potatoes in pots, sweet potatoes in raised beds and containers, and upside down, and working them in throughout your gardens. So there's all kinds of ways to do it. And if you want to break it down even more, we can just talk about the construction of a bed. There's so many ways to do it versus all those other things, but then you can do the hugelkultur method, you can do the Garden to Eden, you can do all of this stuff. What it really breaks down to me is the method you use is not important, it's the results that you come up with. And so, since we were talking about sweet potatoes and even tomatoes, anything, they've been grown for thousands of years by human beings. And they maybe did different methods, but it's all really about the same. You put it in the dirt, you feed it, you water it, you harvest it, and in between all that, you're also managing issues on a consistent basis. And that's really the important part. Like, I see a lot of people get really hung up, and I'm no dig, no till, I'm lasagna, I'm, you know, whatever, spaghetti, you know, just whatever it is. Everybody, it's like people identify with a method of a garden, and it's not real. In my mind, it shouldn't really be like that. I know this may not be a popular subject or way to describe myself, because people get really entrenched in it. And I've tried a lot of these methods, and I can tell you what works for me is my method, and what works for you is going to be your method. So you may try something like a hugelkultur and modify it to work for you. You know, you may do a Garden Eden method, but modify it for you. And that's when it becomes, you know, Johnny's method or Susie's method or whatever. But really the important part is we're just gardening. And I play around with this every year. I'm always trying to do different things, trying new, you know, sowing methods, growing methods. Timing is something that I really play around with a lot. Watering is something that I'm doing this year. I mean, look at this bed, for example, or all the beds. This year I'm doing the in-ground watering. Now, this isn't traditional. It's not traditional by any stretch of the imagination, as a matter of fact, but neither is using a sprinkler. Neither is bringing in water. I mean, the ultimate way is to let the sky water it, you know? Let the Lord water the garden. Just go by the rain. But technology over the years has surpassed that, and we have the knowledge to know better, and we should take advantage of that. That would just be crazy not to take advantage of these situations. So I swore up and down that I would never use in-ground watering. Now I'm going to get more into this in the next video, but just to show you, I am feeling the in-ground watering so far this year. I'm not having the issues I thought I would as a whole. Everything is growing, everything is watered, and it seems to be going really well, and I'm happy about it. Now, I definitely did go a little bit more traditional on this watering method, and what I mean is instead of buying some gimmick product, I ended up constructing my own with the materials that are made for this, and it worked out a lot better than some gimmick crap that I've bought in the past. But that's for me. For you, it could be different. So, you know, this all works for me. Now, I do have to say this. I planted these Husk Tomatoes over here about a week ago. And I got 2 of them. They're nice and fresh, and I'll show you what's going on here. So it may be the first inkling that it's not perfect, and I didn't expect it to be perfect. So here's one. Looks good. It looks nice. And here's 2. Looks dry. And so you can see it got watered last night, but there is a hose here and a hose here. And so it's watering. I tried to plant in the middle so the water could get to it. And it just, I don't know if it's just not quite getting totally to it yet. That could just be patience. I need more patience. You know, the roots need to get bigger. They need to find the water. In the long run, it's going to be okay, hopefully. We're just about to get, hopefully, about 4 days of rain off and on. So I think they're projecting like 2 to 3 inches, which is good. If we know our plants need an inch of water a week, then we know that we're getting a little excess amount, and it should help that plant to get a little bit more comfortable. So that is something that is going to work out in our favor. But just that little piece of knowledge is huge. The fact that we know that a plant needs 1 inch of water per week. And this year I kind of took it a little bit of a step further, where we started planting in rows instead of blocks. And this is what I would consider a more traditional method, where there's a row of peppers, you know, another row of peppers. And then like here, we didn't want to grow so many peppers, so we just kind of went along and did another row of something. You know, here with the corn, which by the way is looking pretty good, other than the fact that it's leaning for the sun, but whatever. It's you know, it's a whole bed of corn in rows, good for fertilization, good for growing. Should work out pretty well for us. And we even are on our way to getting some corn. So that's a good sign, right? We just need the pollination to get there, but it'll happen. So let's do a little pollinating while we're here. What do you say? So sometimes I'll just come out here and just shake them, trying to get the pollen to fall. And there's still more to go. I mean, we have some more tasks, some more going on here, so we should be good. Either way, that's kind of what I've been doing this year to take it down that more traditional route. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this, hopefully. You know, it was a challenge for me. I spent a couple days thinking about it, and I really wanted to think, like, how am I described as a gardener, you know? And I see a lot of people, like, they see something and they want to try it no matter what. And I mean, just because you see a method doesn't mean that it's going to work in your garden. You know, we tried to do the Garden of Eden stuff and it just didn't work. I mean, we got bad fire ants from it, like terrible. So when we went away from it, it kind of started easing up a little bit. And so not everything you see everybody do is going to work in your area or your garden. You know, I did a video recently about the fall seeds I planted, and somebody said, hey, that's not going to work. It's way too early. I think I'm going to wait until August or September. I didn't dig in that at all. The fact is in their area, that may work perfectly, but in my area, it doesn't. And in your area, it might not, or it might. So you just kind of need to look about it. And that's why I always try to incorporate things like the weather and the temperature and stuff like that to kind of help people judge where they're going to fit into their classification of, you know, their zone. Because that's a bad way of describing it too. I mean, first frost dates are really the best way to go, but whatever, we can't change that. We can only move forward in the best direction. So just not getting all involved in everything, not having to buy the newest and latest and greatest garden invention. And just remember, people have been growing these things for thousands of years. You're not gonna change how it worked back then, and you're not gonna make it any different now. You may make it a little bit easier, but you can also make it a lot harder on yourself.
Goodbye.